Welcome in the live on ServiceNow session today. Get started with ServiceNow DEX preparation and activation. So we are gonna kickstart the session, and thanks again for everyone to join us today. Quick introduction. Myself, Chetu, I'm part of product team here and based out of ServiceNow office in Bangalore, India. I'm with ServiceNow like close to 3 years now in the ITSM space and working closely on the DEX product. With this, I would like to ask Tony if you want to join us, if you want to introduce yourself, Tony.
Absolutely. Hey everyone, Tony Campanelli here. I've been with ServiceNow a little under 4 years. I work in the emerging practices space within ServiceNow, focusing on new ITSM products, and I look forward to working with you all.
Yeah, so along with me and Tony, we do have a couple of ServiceNow colleagues from product team who are going to help us with some of question and answers today. With this, move on a couple of housekeeping items. When you have a question, use the Q&A tool rather than the chat. That way, if we can't answer your question during the call, we can follow up with you after and still get your question answered. We will post a recording of this session to our community site, so you can come back to it in the future if you want to review anything we cover. Finally, please share your feedback in the survey that opens in your web browser immediately after the session. Your feedback powers our decisions about our product and how we conduct our webinars. Your voice matters for us. With this, a quick reminder on the safe harbor notice. In case if you're using any forward-looking statement, please don't make your purchasing decision based on those statements. With this, I want to so today's session is a part of Live on ServiceNow webinar series, curated events to keep you updated on your latest capabilities, get implementation pro tips, and connect you with the vast community of ServiceNow practitioners, administrators, and leaders. Check out the upcoming events scheduled by scanning the QR code on your screen or using link in the chat box. Um, we are going to have action packaging today since we are going to talk about tax implementation. So on a high level, we will start with a quick introduction of tax. We will talk about the prerequisites. Uh, we will talk about the setup ACC, and we'll touch base on the common mistakes. And of course, there is a dedicated time at the end of the session for Q&A. And of course, there is a demo planned as well in between. With this, move on further. So what is tax in general? Digital employee experience management is the process of monitoring and improving how employees interact with technology in the workplace. The goal is to make the use of technology as efficient, productive, and pleasant as possible. DEX involves identifying and addressing issues that employees may have when using their organization's software, hardware, or cloud-based tools, as well as gaining an understanding of how they feel. ServiceNow Digital End User Experience, also called DEX for short, is a capability exclusive to the ServiceNow platform. Means specifically that our DEX capabilities does not support other platform or provide data to them. It is available only on the ServiceNow platform. DEX delivers valuable outcomes for several personas, and we are just getting started. Couple of personas like for end users, it can help remove the barriers to productivity by alerting service desk agent about misbehaving apps on end user devices and initiating a remediation before the end user is impacted. For persona like service desk agent, it can reduce mean time to resolve by providing actionable insights about the health of end user devices. For IT leader persona, it can reduce the operating cost by allowing users to self-solve issues through desktop assistant application. For personas like software asset manager, it can reduce the software spend by providing application usage data to ServiceNow software asset management system. This is where, so because DEX is a part of ServiceNow platform, we continue to identify new use cases across our other capabilities and will build those out as it makes sense in the product lifecycle. This is where feedback insights are critical for us. We want to build the capabilities you need. Just let us know when you have ideas, and we will work with you to explore the possibilities. With this, I want to touch base on the key components involved as part of ServiceNow DEX solution. So DEX consists of applications, services, and browser extensions installed on the end user computer devices. Applications that are enabled on the ServiceNow instance. The DA or desktop assistant application is installed on the end user computer and runs in the menu bar on macOS and in the tray for Windows. It facilitates notifications and engagements and stays authenticated to the ServiceNow instance. It also has some simple troubleshooting tools and a direct link to Employee Center built in. This is the only part of DEX an end user can directly interact with. A specific version of midless agent client collector runs as a service. It facilitates the data collection for the device, the operating system, specified installed applications, and the network from the device point of view. Last, we install the browser extensions for Chrome and Edge to measure SaaS application performance for the URLs you define. We surface all the DEX data and capabilities in Service Operation Workspace. I will review those in the few slides, or we do have a demo plan where Tony is going to walk us through the Service Operation Workspace and UIs. So with this, quickly move on to touch base on the DEX prerequisites. So just like a preparation to enable the DEX on your instance. So we would like to start with make sure like we have a license requirement matched up. We recommend our customers to have at least ITSM standard or pro or enterprise license along with the DEX subscription units. We also want to call out, make sure like we have a plugins available and you can request DEX plugins via ServiceNow Store. Install those plugins and verify if they are showing in the instance. These are the key plugins which will cover as part of demo as well. Also want to verify system requirements before even start the DEX installation part. So make sure like end user devices, they are following the minimum system requirements. Before installing the DEX or the agent client collector on devices, make sure we have admin rights on devices. In case of Mac, for example, sudo permissions or the root privileges, and in case of Windows devices, at least local admin access. Be ready with the registration key. This registration key will be used for ACC to instance authentication. So these are a couple of prerequisites that I want to call out. With this, before I move into next slide, I want to just let everyone know, in case if you have any question, please use the Q&A button available. Post your question. One of our colleagues can pick the question and respond to your answer. So I want to touch base on steps to install agent client collector on devices. See, we call it it's in two part. One is like manually installation for some of the test devices, and once we done with the testing, once we are good with to roll out on the wider enterprise wide rollout, then we call like a bulk installation. So I will touch base the manual installation first, and we recommend to, if you have less than 5 devices or so, you can utilize the manual installation as well, just for testing purpose. It is pretty much simple, straightforward, like a ServiceNow UI. If you're familiar with, go to agent registration key. So create a new key first, and we will demonstrate all these steps as part of demo in few minutes. Next, go to all, download the agent based on your targeted device. If it's a Mac or Windows device, then download the package accordingly. Agent download. So since we are talking about the manual installation, so copy a single line command without made and modify in Notepad. Add package location. So when you're modifying this command, add the package location wherever you downloaded the package. Copy and run this command in the command prompt or the PowerShell window in the Windows environment. For Mac though, slightly different steps. You have to copy single line command and run via terminal. Of course, please make sure you have admin level access. Mac installs will require one less step, as the command will download it and install the package. So we don't need to pass on, we don't separately, we don't need to download the package. Verify if ACC is installed. to verify this, go to Windows Services, see if agent can collector service is running as local admin. So once we are verifying the ACC, and same thing we can do in the Mac by following the activity monitor if it is showing the ACC service. So these are the very high level steps, and we will cover these as part of demo in few minutes. I want to just quickly touch base on the bulk installation as well. So we call it bulk installation or the larger enterprise rollout when we have kind of more than 5 devices or so. So in case of bulk installation, we'll recommend to follow your in-house workplace team recommendations to push packages via modern bulk installation tool. Some of the tools like MECM or Intune or JMF in case of Mac environment. With this, quickly move on. I want to just quickly touch base on the steps to uninstall ACC as well, since we're talking about the installation. So let's touch base on the installation as well. On Windows devices, it's pretty straightforward. Stop the ACC service available as part of the Windows Services section. Navigate to Add Remove Program to uninstall the service. On Mac devices, just follow the terminal and run the install command. It will uninstall the agent. Uh, Once we uninstall the agent from devices, just as a post uninstallation steps, we also want to call out some of the best practices where we want to clean up some of the tables in ServiceNow instance. So you can navigate to agent table and agent registration to identify to clear the registration entry. So we called out these both the tables here, and we will see this activity as part of demo as well. Mainly we are recommending to clear the entries from agent registration list here, and there is a very easy way to pick out, hey, which are the agent we need to uninstall is simply follow this table and see the agent ID here and go to the agent registration list, delete the entry. With this, move on to next slide. Also, I want to call out steps to install the browser extensions, one of the key component to monitor the uh, experience of employee with SaaS application. So again, as part of manual activity, we want to recommend using browser admin store, and we do have Google Chrome Web Store and Edge Store as well. You can follow this link. It is very simple. Get the plugin and done. Same thing if you are targeting the bulk or mass deployment, you can follow various different ways. You can download the browser plugin via respected store and make a package and push using modern bulk installation tools like MECM or JMF or Intune. With this, I want to keep moving on and keep asking a question using the Q&A button so that our team member can respond to your question. So with this, we do have third component. So we covered ACC, agent client collector. We covered the browser plugin. We do have one more component, which is highly focused on the employee persona. To install this desktop assistant application, in case if you are targeting up to 5 devices, follow the manual installation process. Pretty much is standard. Go to all in the ServiceNow instance, desktop assistant, and go to the deployment page here by following the installer and uninstaller command. So here on this page, you can see set a file as well as installer as per your device type. If you have Mac or Windows, so you can download the package and you can simply install the desktop assistant application to end user device. In case if you are doing for bulk installation of your enterprise rollout, then again, I want to recall like follow your workplace team recommendations, which tool they are using to push the packages, and you can target the bulk installation in your enterprise rollout. With this, move on to next one. Quickly, I want to touch base like when we want to recommend single line or bulk deployment. I want to highlight a couple of factors which help you to make a decision like when to use single line or manual installation versus bulk deployment. So in terms of goals, the single line goal is very clear. Just target few devices. Uh, Purpose is testing the agent client collector on handful of devices. In case of bulk deployment, the goal is to enterprise-wide rollout, right? Some of the differentiators like if you are targeting 5 devices or less, you can follow the single line. But if you have more than 5 devices, or if you have enterprise-wise rollout, follow the bulk deployment. In terms of installer, if you're using single line or manual, you can use the single line installer. And if you have a bulk deployment, then you can follow the approach where we can download the package or push the package via deployment applications. There's a dependency. So if you see the dependency perspective, in case of single line or manual installation, there is no dependency using third-party devices or management softwares. In case of bulk deployment, yes, dependent on third-party devices management tool, some of them like JMF or Intune. In case of single line installer or the manual one, we there is no changes required in the YAML or the configuration file since it's a one-on-one installation, so straightforward. However, if you're targeting the bulk deployment, you might need to tweak the parameters in the configuration files, like agent key or the gateway URL and instance need some changes in the YAML file or configuration file. So with this, I want to quickly hand over back to my colleague Tony, if he can just walk us through the demo so that we can see how the entire installation works, starting with preparation.
Thank you, G2. Let me share my screen. All right. Everyone can see my screen? Okay.
I can see.
Awesome. Okay. So as G2 went over on some of the initial slides, I just want to walk you through the installation process of ACC and kind of what that looks like from a plugin and ACC lens to make sure you kind of get the whole 360 of what it entails to get up and get started quickly. Here you see my main desktop here. First thing we'll want to go ahead and do is just go to our application manager and take a look at those plugins that we're entitled to now, right? We can do a quick search on DEX, right? And if you look at it, the available for you, down here at the bottom, the DEX end user experience is a bundled package. Clicking on that and installing those plugins will install DEX and their dependent features. I've already actually installed the DEX plugins on this, so we'll go ahead over here and take a look at some of the installed plugins that are out there. The DEX application and device health, once that is installed, that takes care of the other dependent plugins that are out there, like your DEX content playbook and your proactive engagement. The only one that'll be installed separately here, aside from DEX application and device health, will be the DEX desktop assistant. So you would install those independently. All right. Moving right along, once the plugins are installed, what we want to do is wait approximately 4 to 6 hours post plugin installation. That's noted there on the slide. The reason for this is our backend services need to be provisioned for DEX. And what that does is we use a couple different services, our Phoenix, our Hermes, and our Clothos, just to name a couple. We don't need to get into the details of those, but essentially what you need to know is those three services, they work together in taking the data ACC sends it and hydrating our tables and our dashboards in SOW for DEX. So once they're provisioned properly, now we're ready to go ahead and move forward with the rest of the installation, which includes our ACC install and anything we need to do on the instance. Okay, so with that said, let's move right along and get our reg key install. So if we go here and we just type in the registration. Oops, I'm sorry. And here you see our agent registration key here. As you can see, there's one out there. We created it. It's very simple. All you do is click new, give it a unique name, and then hit submit. And you're ready to go. And the registration key will be generated and stored out there for your use. This registration key is essentially the handshake between ACC and the instance. It's a one-time connection. It allows that communication to flow from the agent on the local device to the instance and sending that communication back and forth. It generates the registration, then generates an entry in the agent table in ServiceNow with an appropriate certificate matching each device that has to connect to the instance. And we'll go over that and we'll show what that looks like a little bit later. All right. Once the registration key is generated and out there, now we're going to navigate to our agent downloads page. All right. So if we just go to all, we can just type in our agent download. There we go. And just select agent downloads. So this is the main page where a lot of the work is going to actually happen. This is where we're going to generate our command, download our packages, whether you're using Windows downloads or your it's a Mac installation. This is where we're going to pretty much work from at the initial onset. So for now, what we want to do is make sure you have your favorite editor available. It could either be Notepad or Notepad++. Because what we're going to do is we're going to copy those commands in there and make an editor too. But for now, first and foremost, for Windows, we're just going to focus on Windows for now. Let's download that installer. So once you click this little guy here, it will download and generate the file. It goes to your download programs by default, but I like to put it in a separate folder, so I moved it over to my DEX downloads folder, and you can see here's the actual download right here. One of the things you want to take note of is the file path and the actual name of the file itself. Because what we want to do is when we go over here to our trusty notepad, you can see these commands that I entered in here. And that is done simply by selecting our commands without mid for Windows, right? Because it's a
Yeah.
midless solution.
Tony, sorry to interrupt. Do you want to share the notepad again? I think you
Oh
you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
presented
I'm
a
going to
little
go
bit
back
of.
there. So one of the things we're going to do is copy the install command for the single line installer. What that's going to do, once we paste it into our command window here, is that's going
Yeah,
to allow us
if
to
you can pull the other desk, we don't see your other monitor.
Oh, you are you not able to see my notepad?
No.
Oh, hold on a second. You guys can see my screen
Yeah,
now.
I can see now. Thank you.
All right. So essentially what we've done is we've copied that command from the instance into our trusty old notepad. And what we essentially need to do is, as I mentioned, is we need to make note of the path that we put the installer in. Define that path right here, because right now by default it'll just have a bracket that says uh, path to installer. And we're just defining our path here. And everything else will be resonant. We already created the registration key that I showed you how to create that reg key. That gets populated automatically. You do not have to paste that in. And the instance URL that we're using, because it knows the instance that we're using. Once you define the path, that is pretty much ready to go. All right. And what we essentially need to do is take this single line installer, put it into a command prompt or PowerShell prompt, and it'll execute our MSI. So let me show you a little bit about what that looks like here. So right here, you can see the PowerShell. We will just copy our command back from our Notepad++, and we're just pumping that command right on in there. And at this point, we hit enter. It'll go through the installation process for ACC. All right. At that point, we're ready to just sit back for a minute or two and let the installation do its thing. And I'll show you real quick how we can kind of tell when things are done. So let me share my trusty old services here. We're going to open our Windows Services screen. And what we're looking for is to ensure that the agent client collector loads in our services pane. Once that installation is complete, agent client collector will be out there and running. And that's how we know ACC is ready to rock. One of the things we want to check, we always make sure we just go to properties here,
Yep.
click on the log on. So here you can see, here's the properties window, and we want to make sure it's running as a local system account. That is key to ensure that ACC has the necessary privileges to execute the mining and the checks of the device data and send it back to our instance. Once that's pretty much done, you are ready to go from an ACC installation perspective. All right. One of the other things you can do here, and can you see my screen here now, G2?
Yeah, I can see PowerShell.
Good, good, good. One of the things you can do now is um, append local username equals dash system. So if I wanted to, I just want to make sure you guys have this kind of it's more of a side note and tuck it in your back pocket. If I were to do this right here, I could skip that whole step with right clicking on ACC, making sure that I click the log on page and making sure it has system account. This will automatically add that parameter and make it a local system account. That's more or less just an FYI stick in your back pocket. The other thing we want to make sure we're looking at here is our YAML file. Once ACC installs and is completed, it's going to generate a YAML file, our acc.yml. And all this is the configuration and instruction set on how to communicate and talk to the instance. Some of the key things we noted in our command, we have the our instance URL that we define. It captures our registration key, the backend URL that we're talking to on the instance to allow that communication access and free flow of data is defined also here. We also have things like our logging info and things like that. They're the core configurations that exist as part of our YAML file. And that's really what makes up the end-to-end communication between ACC and the instance is our agent and our configuration detail that's contained here within. All right. At this point, let's go ahead and look at the devices. We went ahead and installed ACC on a device. Now let's make sure that we can actually see those devices in action within SOW. So looking at back at our instance page here, let's go ahead and take a look at our SOW. So if we go to workspaces, service operations workspace, one of the things we want to check first and foremost is, do we have any devices out there? And sure enough, we have a couple of devices that are out there and ready to rock. At this point, we can click on them from here. We can start to see various information that's out there about those devices, things of that nature. I can just, if we just click on one, we can see here's a Windows device out here now. We can see the device status is up. It's collecting various data, all that kind of fun stuff. Specific information about this Windows device is all sitting out here. Hardware profile, everything that's out there for that. All kinds of amazing metrics and pieces of information that very useful. The next thing we want to do is just for reference purposes, is I want to show you the agent table real quick, because one of the key things that happens on initial load is it creates an agent in our agent table. So if you just start to type agent in your browse and just click here right on agents, you'll see the corresponding entries that I just looked at. We just looked at my Windows device here and saw all the data in here. This kind of gives us a snapshot of what's going on environmentally. As soon as that ACC loads, it's going to put an entry out here for the agent table, give us kind of a quick status of what's going on, and then map that over to SOW that we just looked at in the workspace. Those two things kind of work hand in hand and can kind of give you a sense of um, the synchronized process of how the agent is being loaded into the system and how the data is starting to collect for that system. And you can see over here the host data collection process. You can see that it's in a collected state. At the beginning, yours will say collecting, and it'll be in a yellow sort of state. And that's fine. It takes a few minutes to run through its collection process. And once completed, you'll start to see all that data hydrating those tables. All right. Next, I want to show you, moving right along, the uninstall process. It's pretty key just because every once in a while we run into something, maybe we didn't do something quite right. We're seeing a situation where maybe our agents are out here, they've been collecting for hours and hours and they don't seem to be turning green. We don't know why. Maybe we might want to do an uninstallation of ACC just to start clean again in case we something went awry as part of that install. So essentially all we want to do here is bring up our uh, default apps, right? Apps and features, basically go to our add remove programs, right? And find our ACC client collector. It really is this simple. You just click on the agent client collector and then just click on the uninstall. And it'll slowly start to uninstall and roll back everything that's out there that was installed initially on your device. Okay. Once that process is done, we'll go back to our services and make sure that ACC is no longer part of our services. It'll disappear from the services list. We know we're pretty much ready to go. It does leave one trace though, right? It takes everything off the machine locally and it takes our service away, but it doesn't necessarily clean up on the instance side, right? So there's one additional step we want to do as part of our uninstall. That's very, very important. Because our initial handshake creates an agent ID, an agent record out here on the table, it also creates a registration record. It's just letting you know that, hey, I'm the device here. I connected to the instance over here, and I have a certificate and tracking of that connection in the registration table. We just need to clean that registration up so that way when you go to reinstall, it doesn't create any duplicate entries. And you do that by simply going to all and typing SN underscore agent underscore agent underscore registration dot list, right? Put list in caps. It'll open it in a new window. And in our new window here, you can see the agent registration table and the keys that are out there. What you're going to want to do is match up the agent ID to the agent ID out here. So I know for my Windows device, I just find my agent ID. It's 9676, right? I go over here and I find 9676 here, and I know I'm doing a reinstallation. Just hit the drop down up here and hit delete, and it'll be deleted from the table. And that's the very simple way to just clean that up. And once that is done, you are pretty much ready to go and free to reinstall on that specific machine or device. Okay. Any questions thus far?
There was a common question, Tony, which I
Sure.
want to call out is security of reg key. Or like, do we have that encrypted how we are saving, how we are securing the reg key in the YAML file?
The reg key, it's actually not there. It's under heavy encryption, and it's only there visible to us during initial install. It's not in the YAML file thereafter. Once the initial handshake is done, it's if you go to that same YAML file, you'll see that it's actually blank between quotes. We don't display it anymore. So it's not even visible at that point.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Yeah, I think no more question. We already answered some of the question for the chat.
Awesome. All right. All right. The next item, just moving along and following the slides and the installation process is the G2 had mentioned the DEX browser extensions, which are key to when we go back here. Let me just show you real quick. Let's go back to our workspaces and service operations workspace. Let's say we want to look at some web apps. I don't know if I have any web apps. I probably do. Yeah. Let's see if we have any data for these. That's some data. So if we want to monitor a specific web app and the performance of that web app, we need the browser extensions. The browser extensions are what enable us to do that. So we want to come over to our Chrome browser extension here, and we can see if you click on the link in the file there that G2 showed, it'll bring us right out to our browser extension page within Chrome. As you can see, I'm being managed by my organization, but I had already done this, and it'll give you the option to install the Chrome browser extension. It's super quick, and you can also stage this to deploy in bulk as part of your bulk package installation methods. But yeah, you just click and install that, and it'll install the Chrome extension. Takes like 5 seconds. Same thing for Edge. Just click that link, come out to your Edge, and you can install the extension for Microsoft Edge. Those are the two browsers we support today, and that's what will enable your web and SaaS apps to uh, monitor, collect, and transfer all the necessary performance data for those apps that you define. Okay. And then finally, the last stage of the process is the DEX desktop assistant that we alluded to earlier. So if we go back to our instance and we go back to our downloads, our agent installation. Oh, I'm sorry. 1 second here. Our desktop assistant. And we go to our installer and uninstaller for desktop assistant. It's a very similar page to our agent download page. This is going to give you the single line commands for the installer, the uninstaller, the packages to download, whether you're running Windows or Mac OS. This is all for the desktop assistant that runs in the tray on Windows devices. So you would simply just download your Windows package, for example. It would load your Windows package. I could just show you out here. I think I have one out here. Under your downloads, here you go. SN DEX Desktop App 3.0. That's your Windows package. And you could essentially just double click on this just like any other Windows installation MSI, and it'll walk you through click by click through the installation. Or you can set that up in a more automated fashion via your bulk packaging and push it out. But those are the two options, and it's just you just follow the prompts. There's no special configurations needed, and it'll install the desktop assistant on the end user's device. And I don't know, we got into it too heavily, but the desktop assistant runs in the tray on each user's device and allows us to effectively communicate with our end users. when there's specific notifications or information we want to send them and want to make them aware of, they can receive those notifications via the desktop assistant. They can also self-help. They can start to do some initial triage on their own system. They can do device health checks. Um, they can look up specific knowledge articles if it's configured to help them through various situations. So it's a great little tool that allows us the full range of remediation and proactive engagement for our end users as we're using the product and working through the system. All right. With that, that includes the key components and core components to set up and install DEX, ACC, and the desktop assistant. And that essentially positions us for success of utilizing this product. With that, I will turn it back over to G2 to go through a couple final slides.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tony, for walking us through the demo. I hope like audience they learn a lot about installation perspective. So while we are waiting for more question and answers, and keep posting your question in the Q&A section in the Zoom window, I would like to just call out very common mistakes or like silly things which we have observed with our customers they do while doing the installation part. The first one I want to call out about make sure like you don't have any restrictions in terms of network communication. So between agent and instance. So something like web filtering or the firewalls or proxy setting, which kind of make interruption between communication between agent and instance, especially the TLS inspection with proxies. So make sure like TLS inspection is disabled since our architecture is based out of MTLS, so which is very secured and industry-wide used. So yeah, make sure like you have all those restrictions managed, and you can talk to your network and security team internally to organization to make those all these things smooth. The other common mistake that we have observed with other customers, like the ACC service on Windows device installation is not running as local system. So we have seen this pretty common. If you install the agent on your device and if ACC doesn't have required permission, uh, it will not show up the device metrics. So make sure you have checked the must be admin or admin privileges to install the software on the local devices. If you are doing the manual installation, make sure like you have ACC properties or log on tab via Windows services to ensure local system account, as Tony mentioned in a few minutes back. For bulk and manual installs, you can use one of the additional parameter as part of command, local username, which will install the Windows service or the agent or the ACC service, agent client collector service as a local system admin.
Well,
So in the Mac,
if I
go
could
on,
just
sorry.
touch on that one point, the key with the local system account, and I showed it as I was kind of demoing through the showing you the service. What's tricky about that one, and I want to make sure everyone knows, it'll look like it worked, right? If it's not running as a local system account, you'll see some data in the tables populating, but you won't see all of it. So it's a little tricky. You'll come across, maybe you'll look at an installed app and see that the tables or the entries in there are all blank. That's because certain checks, certain pieces of information that it needs to gather requires a higher level of privilege, and that's why you'll see inconsistent results, and that's why we really focus on making sure that we have it running as a local system account to make sure all of the metrics can be properly gathered.
Yeah, thanks, Ronnie. So with respect to the Mac environment, make sure you have a root or sudo access to function the agent properly. So with this, while we're waiting for question, I want to quickly touch base on few more. So we want to like please make sure tax matrix consistency by targeting actively used devices. We have seen this with other customers. We install the agent on devices, kind of dummy or test devices where we don't have actual users logged in. So ensure devices are live and used by users regularly to make sure like agent is collecting the data and reflecting the latest metrics. Device checks will only execute and collect data when a user is logged in. So it is very important point to utilize the devices where we have actual users logged in. Ensure tax metrics showing to service operation workspace dashboard. To make sure this point, verify if tax backend services are working as expected. So once you install the DEX plugins, um, there is a background services which will stand up, and these services, background services, are responsible to run the DEX communication and make sure like metrics is properly available on the SOW page. So yeah, verify the DEX backend services and how we can check. It's very easy. Um, Check the status of backend services like Phoenix, Hermes. You can use this URL. You just replace your instance name into that URL, run through the browser, and then you will see all the uh, green and red kind of signals against those services, as Tony shown in the previous session. So if you want to join us in the future webinars, you can self sign up um, using the QR code, or you can use the link I pasted in the chat box. We are going to have sessions across all the ITSM or the ServiceNow product range. I would like to call out, we do have DEX series already scheduled. So we will have DEX focus session every month. Feel free to self sign up. Feel free to join us to learn more about DEX offering. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time.